Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lied.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're no. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Mantra, slave songs, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I hide, my ancestors speak. They tell me the tide isn't print on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep, longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed, begging the generations remember our story.
Yo, 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 what up, what up, what up, what up? Happy Friday, man. Peace and blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Good to be here. I hope all is well. I hope you're warm. I hope you're safe. You made it this far in the week. I'd say that's a victory. It's good to be back with y'all, man. Shout outs to my poets, my writers, content creators. We do have an open mic tonight, 8 o'clock. Yes, tap in. It's gonna be a goodie. I'm looking forward to it. I got Coach in the building. I got a clip that I'm gonna play for y'all. We gotta talk about men's mental health, man. We gotta talk about it. It doesn't get enough love. It doesn't get enough recognition. So let me go ahead and bring this brother up to the big screen real quick. Coach, what up?
Yo, good morning, man. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. I got the fire. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get into this topic, man. How about you?
Hey, man, I'm hyped. I'm pumped. I'm amped up. Great topic. Definitely needed. 6 days out before the holiday. I think it's time to get on and talk about the hard things. You know, let's do it.
All right. So, this clip was inspired by I'll say a conversation that was had, and I went on the line. I came across this, and I said, "Yeah, we need to bring this up because we don't. First of all, we don't put enough respect on it. I know we have a lot of conversations about women and relationships and things of that nature, but nobody really seems to have a lot of concern or consideration about the mindset of men and what we deal with on a regular basis. So let me pull this up here on the big screen. Shout outs to the chat. I see you in the building. All right. I'm gonna let this play out. This is like 2 minutes, 37 seconds. I'm gonna let it rock out and we're gonna proceed.
Okay, let's
Prove
get
once
it.
again why men find it so hard to talk about mental health. Kai took a quick hiatus from his hiatus to come out and tell us what he's been dealing with, and that is his mental health and just trying to reconfigure his brain and his mindset. And you know what the internet did, specifically men on the internet? They came out in droves to say, since Kai is a multi-millionaire with the easiest job on earth, he should not be dealing with mental health issues, and that he actually is just using this as a ploy to sell a new product to his peon followers. Bruh, how do we expect men to feel comfortable actually opening up and sharing their feelings and sharing what they're going through, which is literally a bunch of men in this loneliness epidemic? The yourself rates are at an all-time high, and y'all continually prove why there's not a safe space for men to do this. Bro dropped that he is reading more and it's been helping him improve his mindset. And somehow a post clowning Kai for reading got 13K likes. Like, I'm convinced our generation, I'm Gen Z and Gen Alpha below me, is just obsessed with hating those that are more successful than you are. And it's only because you feel slighted by a system that is not delivered on its promises. You were taught to believe in this system, this dream, that once you reach a certain age, you will be well off, able to buy a house, able to be debt free and provide for your family. Times have changed, but instead of people being mad at the system, they just take it out on those that are doing better than them. And it's so tired and so corny, bruh. Who have no difference in ability than Kai Cenat, yet you lash out at Kai's mental health status for your own shortcomings as opposed to questioning why you're in the state you're in. Like, we've seen tons of creators, most notably Etika, who was honestly Kai Cenat before Kai Cenat, deal with mental health issues where it did not end well at all, and yet the lesson is still not learned. In this day and age where we keep pleading for men to go to therapy, take mental health seriously, open up to one another, open up to other men, I don't see how that is going to be a possibility when this is the response to one of the most unproblematic people on the internet. Like, I don't know, man. This is just very disheartening. I'm going to keep being that resource for my guys, keep being that resource for my bros, and keep opening up my damn self, because I do understand the importance of mental health. But we have to do better if we actually want to see a change in the men in our generation, because this is not helping anything but making it easier to hate one another. And we do not need any more of that right now, like, at all. The internet just proved one.
All right. Kai Cenat expresses that he's going through some things. Who does he turn to? He turns to social media to express himself. Many of us don't have a circle at home. Many of us don't have even that at all. Sometimes you just left alone to your thoughts in a room, in a space. He decides to go to the public and say, look, everything is not okay. In turn, you get people trolling, you get people making jokes. They don't take you serious. They don't even think that, oh, it's possible for you to go through anything. You're not hurting. You're not suffering. You're not struggling. Oh, because you're a man, because you have muscles, and because you can bench press 200 pounds and you gross over $250,000 a year, you don't have any problems. There's no possible way that you could be going through anything. What do you say to that? What were your thoughts on that video and this subject in specific?
On the video, it's twofold. Because what happens is we live in a world where people resist change. And so people in an older demographic are naturally going to criticize. They're naturally going to find problems with the way some of the younger folks are going about expressing themselves. I'll be full transparency, right? I used to do the same thing. I wouldn't understand why somebody would go online and share their feelings and emotions. But I think at this point you can embrace it, and because you can easily say, well, why didn't he go talk to somebody else and get help, and whatever the case may be, which he very well could have behind the scenes. But I think using this as an opportunity, as a launching point to show young people in his demographic that, hey, look, even though he is a multimillionaire, I'm not counting his pockets, but even though he's successful and he's online, achieving some of the things a lot of people have aspirations to do, he too is going through something. So I think take this opportunity to commend him, to be vulnerable, to say, and I don't care if he's selling a product or not, but it's one of the positive things that we should be highlighting, that the young man is going online and just bringing awareness to mental health. So that's what I took from the video. We can unpack and go down a rabbit hole, obviously, but at initial glance, it's happy to see that he's taking his mental health serious and using his platform as a launching point to just start the conversation, specifically conversation like these.
I'm glad he did that. I mean, because, well, let's look at it this way. As much as we look at you for being loud and eccentric with your content and your delivery, and you have all of these different personalities on your stream, and for the most part, when you think about Kai Cenat, you think, oh, he's gonna be emotive, right? He's not really someone who is serious. You're looking to laugh, you're looking for eye candy, you're looking for messiness, and whatever your niche is, that's usually what he kind of cultivates. But for someone like that to say publicly, look, this is me, everything is not perfect, and because I want to convey to the world that everything is not just so clear and cut. You see all of this in my background. You see me hanging out with all of these people, but at the end of the day, I'm still human. And I need y'all to know that you're not going to see a lot of celebrities or influencers doing this, period. If anyone looks at this and says, oh, this is just for publicity, I'm just really trying to get a specific audience over here to monetize off of, that's debatable. It's messed up, right? Because there are people who do it. But I personally, I don't care if it comes off as if it's for promotional purposes or not. Someone is reaching out, or they're attempting to say, look, I'm here. Someone reach out a hand, and you make joke and make light of it. That's a problem. And Michelle and Tiffany, you brought up some good points as well. We grew up that way. I know I did. You're not supposed to feel nothing. You're just supposed to be a machine. Period. But having that attitude and that mindset, it turns you into a cold and callous person. You don't know how to interact with other people. You know how, but you don't know how. Because there's parts of you who are still struggling with the concept that it's okay to feel and it's okay to actually be vulnerable. Because if you are vulnerable, then by default, you are persecuted and sentenced to a life of degradation and disrespect by everybody involved because you come off as soft, come off as weak. You're not a protector. You can't lead. You can't give advice. You can't be a contributing factor to someone's growth because you are showing that there's a side of you that feels like you're not supposed to feel nothing. So I don't know. I salute him for it. I don't even want to focus on this idea that he's just trying to promote. I think that's corny. The comment section sometimes can really be childish as hell. Just because I don't know you or I don't really rock with the content or whatever the reason is, if somebody is publicly saying I'm not right in the head or something's going wrong or going on with me, why would you offer in return this adolescent crap in response to somebody screaming out, I need help? Are you?
Yeah. So, and again, it's, like we talk about society, man, and the stigmas that get placed on the people, and it's specifically men. Especially men with, again, I'll say, when you're around young men and say if they fall, and they start to cry and show some type of emotion, you might naturally just tell them to man up or be a man, versus explaining them how to control that emotion or what to do with that emotion. Again, it all goes back down to the education piece on how we help each other get through situations, how we help each other as far as from moving forward and advancing. Because the issue is when you reinforce that idea, it's kind of showing that vulnerability is a sign of weakness. And I think that's some of the issues that we have. And like you mentioned, it just teaches you how to be cold, and you grow up thinking vulnerability is an issue, thinking fear is an issue, and not properly knowing how to process those emotions is we kind of setting ourselves up for failure along the way. And then, also, when we get older as well, that tough guy routine, it's not tough ignoring your emotions and your feelings, more or less is ignorant. And that's those learned behaviors that we have to unlearn, especially as we get older and we go through, life experiences, and we're figuring it out as we go along. And I think we've gotten to a point in society where we've identified, hey, that's obviously a problem. We need to course correct and find a different pattern, how we're moving forward. So, and again, having these conversations like this is where it started.
Definitely, for sure. My pops used to try to reach out to me a lot, and I didn't know how to. I mean, one, because he wasn't biologically my parent. That affected me oddly enough, because it's like, damn, this man is actually he all I know, and he's trying to get me to tell him about how my day was at school and this, that, and the third, but I don't know how to approach it. He made the space available, and I regret never actually talking to him, because it was like you're always told to, you don't snitch, you don't report, you suck it up, and then you just keep doing what you're doing. If you bring other people involved in your issues, then you're going to have to face the consequences from everybody else. You go back and you tell on this person, or you talk about bullying from this person, or you tell your parents about what happened with this, or you get met with, it's almost like you get punished for doing things that you're supposed to do against the things that are actually the problem. And that's where I eventually at some point started to understand that's been holding me back. It holds a lot of people back. You ruin relationships. It messes up business. It messes up friendships. It disables and creates this scenario where every time you start to get close to somebody, you can't completely walk through that door all the way because there's this restriction there that's saying, nah, no. If you do this, we're going to censor you. If you do this, we're going to clown you. If we do this, we're going to clip it, put it on social media, and we're going to have everybody laugh and mock you. Do you think this would have stopped in elementary and middle school and high school? No, it carries over into the adult life. Grown men and women laughing at each other over stuff like this. But there's nothing funny about suicide, someone brokenhearted, don't know how to get over their ex or get over the fact that they got gaslit, a narcissist came into their life, ruined their way of thinking. They don't know how to recover from it. And so now they crashing out, ending up in jail or in prison, or it could be something minimal. It don't even have to be to that extent. But just to think about, you spend majority of your life 9 to 5 competing with other men to have a position on the job or a position in the eye of people and someone of value and worth. Then you have to compete with them also. Well, you don't have to, but the way that everything is set up, you have to. Otherwise, you just ain't worth shit. But you spend most of your life trying to compete and compare with everybody else. Oh, they have a house. Why don't I have a house? Or they have 2 cars. Why I don't have it? Oh, they're more attractive to the ladies than I am. Well, what's wrong with me? Why do I keep getting turned down? Why do I keep getting denied? Why is it so difficult for me to find companionship? It's so many variables to this stuff, man. We don't speak enough life. We just don't speak enough life or love into each other. And yeah, that's where I'm at with it right now so far, though. But
no, I mean, like you said, I think it was powerful. You mentioned sitting down with your father, stepfather, or
yeah, he was basically my grandfather, but you know,
okay. Yeah, so sitting down with your grandfather and trying to have a conversation and not being able to, engage. I think that's important. You know, that's important not to kind of gloss over, because again, that whole communication piece, and if that's supposed to be your safe space, you know what I mean, and not being able to engage back and forth into a communication, that can set you up, like you mentioned earlier, down a path that maybe you should have went left and you end up pivoting going right just because of barriers that you were putting up. And that's also what we talk about too, is the difference from barriers and then having boundaries. You know what I mean? So having boundaries and barriers, definitely a difference. And those are some of the things that we don't necessarily learn as early in life as we should, especially depending on the dynamic that you grow up in your household. So definitely, I think more people can relate with situations like that, because it's probably, with them being an authority figure, you know what I mean, not necessarily knowing how to express yourself and tell them how you feel without being disrespectful or worrying about being disrespectful. So, communication, again, it just keeps coming back to that, is learning how to communicate, learning how to articulate yourself. And that's something definitely we should do more of as men, especially, and then just identifying when you are in a safe space or a safe environment. Because a lot of times we get so used to being in a hostile environment, that's what feels normal and safe, right? Used to that chaos, used to it being chaotic. And a lot of times we feel more comfortable in that chaotic environment and less comfortable in a safe space. So that's something that, we should identify with as well, and it's just encouraging honest conversations about feelings, relationships. Mental well-being is critical, man. It's definitely something that should be talked about, especially around now. Life is hard. People are going through things. You got, people not necessarily having a secure income, lack of stability, with jobs right now that's going on out there, and so much pressure that's put on men to, be the provider, and then not necessarily have somebody to share, the things that they're going through that might not necessarily be working out for them. So again, identifying that safe space, and then, again, like you said, a support group or a circle, just making sure you have people around you that you can, not necessarily complain and vent to, but you can have constructive conversations, not somebody that you can just download all your information and then worry about them going and telling or critiquing or criticizing you about it, but providing some thoughtful feedback and some things that can probably help you out. That's important as well, as far as for men. And then just, having that support circle and that support group. So, and then identifying the people who are good for you in that aspect, because not everybody can give you good feedback, quality feedback, and constructive feedback.
We have to find a way to disarm these negative stigmas too, right? So, I'll give you an example. I'm going through something, hypothetically speaking. I come to you personally. I begin to talk, and then your response to the first few sentences is to interject before I even finish out what I'm trying to get. You've already put that barrier up. You're basically telling me, no, we don't want to hear it. But you're not really saying shut up. You're telling me to shut up without telling me to shut up. And you're telling me, I already know the answer to this before you even really understand exactly what is happening. In my mind, you just shut me down completely. And so the conversation turns into something that it was never supposed to be. And then I learned that pattern over and over and over again. I expect it from everybody. That has to stop. The way that you create a safe space, it might not be just going to a restaurant. One way you can create a safe space for someone is to let them speak. And when I mean let them speak, I mean you don't stop them. They have something that has to get off their chest. Let them get it all out. And how this is important. Once they get out everything that they get out, how you respond to what they said is going to let them know if this is a safe space or not. Because in my head, you're going to address key things that I spoke on. If you don't acknowledge those key things, I'm going to already know, yeah, this is most likely a waste of my time. I was better off just concealing that. Or it's going to tell me that it's more than likely that if you don't respect this right here, you're not going to respect nothing else about me that I have to provide or offer. because there's a dark side to everybody. There's things about us that are ugly. There are things about us that are awesome. You have to be able to take the good and the bad. And if you are telling me that this little bit right here is not something that you can handle, then I understand where we are. I can't come to you with who I am. You're taking that away from me. I'm gonna start to engineer this type of a protocol everywhere I go. I'm gonna assume that everybody is the same way, and a lot of men move like that. A lot of these dudes that's in the street, they ain't want to be there. A lot of
let
folks.
me get in there before you go too far. You
Sure.
saying a lot.
Yeah.
You're saying a lot. All right. Hey, great point, man. So what happens is you're talking about again creating barriers in your hypothetical. Identifying that somebody might not be able to have that conversation or might not necessarily be as mature to have that conversation. So what I would say is, and only sticking to your hypothetical, because now you just said you're assuming everybody's that way, and now this is where we start creating problems and traumas and issues, and they aren't unresolved. And then we start penalizing other people for something that somebody else probably wasn't qualified to help you with to begin with. And that's why we have professionals out there. You can't assume. You started out by saying everybody's human and everybody goes through their own things and has issues, which is accurate. So with that being said, they might not be in a space to help you or even listen to your issues. Does that make sense? And that's why you have to go to professionals. You can't just, and that's what I was saying as far as for finding that circle or that support group or whatever it is, that support system that you're looking for. Because if you're trying to confide into somebody that you can't pour into, then that's only going to create the barriers that you described. So finding somebody who's equipped to handle that type of conversation, that would be the best bet. And that's what I would say, like you just, start alluded to talk about in the street, etc. You start picking and choosing, or you start identifying your different types of groups that you associate with. So you have people that you can go to for certain things, i.e., if you get an oil change, you go to the oil change place to get your oil changed. If you need to get your tires replaced on your car, you go to somebody who's good at working, who's good for tires. You just can't go to somebody and trauma dump and think they can receive that information and they can give you the best guidance and information as far as for going back and forth, if that makes sense. So that's what I would say, as far as us educating people and having these type of talks is, if you find yourself in that situation, and especially if somebody won't even let you get a word out and they keep cutting you off and you identify that that's an issue, and if they continue to do it, then they already have communication issues themselves. So that should raise a flag. You should probably stop trying to pour and invest into that conversation and find somebody who can better equip you and handle that, i.e. a coach, or i.e. a therapist, or i.e. somebody who's within that field, in that realm, especially if you're trying to get some type of your problem solved versus continuing to build more problems.
I hear you. I do. When I spoke about a person with horrible communicational skills, it was just my example of, well, this is what could happen to a person who has things going on up here. I'm giving you a first person POV of how that happens. I'm talking to you. You pretty much dismiss me. So you dismiss my personality. You dismiss who I am as a person. But you don't do that to everybody. You pick and choose who you do that to. Here's the problem. We're not allowed to be ourselves, our authentic self. We've been mentally manufactured to be something completely outside of the normal because of all of these standards and requirements. And a lot of this to me is systematic, is designed to break down people ultimately so that it creates more divide. A strategy that has been in practice for a number of years. But I agree with what you said. You should go to somebody who is more likely to be able to help you in those areas. That might not necessarily be available to everyone, though. And I also would say you have family, you might have a friend or someone that you could talk to that you are actually yourself around. Like when you're truly yourself, it makes things so much easier. Like the problems don't go away immediately, but when you can be yourself, I think you have more of a fair chance at unloading without it coming off as if you're trauma dump, because the person that you're exchanging with, they understand. Like some people are more equipped to laugh with you than others. Some people are more equipped to go back and forth with you than others. Some people are more equipped to handle a loud person than like I really believe that God has imparted in specific people certain things to reach you at your season. It might be for a lesson, it might be karma, it might be a variety of things, but I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah, that sounds like a lack of accountability to me, man, and excuses. I don't know about the system and all that other stuff, man, because you can do what you choose to do. And a lot of times people choose not to. It's easier to say the system, which we all know that everybody doesn't have a fair chance or equal opportunity. That's why we got DEI and all these other types of things. But people put the effort in to get the things that they want. And if they deem it to be too difficult, they may choose the road less traveled. And everybody has access to speak to somebody. That's why they have 1-800 numbers. That's why they got hotlines. That's why they have websites. That's bullshit. You just have to want to do it. You have to get off your ass, stop making excuses. And if you want to do better, you will do better. And again, it's about putting yourself in the right situation and the right environment. People out here are making it every day, man, and people are failing every day. But it's what you do when you fail, and that's the lessons. I agree with you. You know, they're not all losses; they are lessons. But you have to get up and put the effort into it. Everybody has the same amount of time. Everybody has the same amount of days. It's what you do with your time. It's what you do with your days. It's what you do with the experiences that you have. It's what you do with the situations that you go through. When you come out of those situations and those experiences, what are you doing with it? Are you like, okay, let me look at the lessons learned and let me figure out how I can do better the next time? Or are you sitting down and just saying, I'm defeated, woe is me, everything happens to me, whatever bad is going to happen is always going to happen to me. And that what happens is, because we're talking about a mental health aspect of it, is that, yeah, people can be berated, they can be belittled. And if you stay in that environment, that's completely up to you. Or you can get up and go put yourself in a different environment, go ask questions. You know, a prime example, we could talk about Nipsey Hussle, right? He went out and found out how Apple, Steve Jobs, went about doing his process and his business plan. And he went out, found that, got that information, modeled it, and he went out and did the same thing. So there's things out there, man. It's just, it becomes an education piece. And if you want it bad enough with this social media and this internet, man, you can talk to anybody around the world and ask a question or to get some information. It depends on what you're doing. If you don't know the right questions, get a book. You know what I mean? Walk into a coffee shop and start talking to somebody. Again, it goes back to that communication piece. Your ceiling is your ceiling. I mean, it's completely up to you. It's the effort that you have to put into it. You can't sit around and just talk about, you know, how the system ain't doing this and the system ain't doing that. Because, I mean, we're sitting here on the internet right now having a conversation and you got people in the group chat. That's making a difference, good, bad, or indifferent, but it's still happening, right? I mean, all of us are co-located. We are different locations, having the same conversation at the same time. It's anything can be possible, man. You just got to put the effort into it.
Which go back to him reaching out. Do you think it was wise to go to the public with this? I mean, he got people around him.
Who you talking about?
Kai Cenat.
Well, yeah, because that's what I started out by saying was I'm sure he probably talked, man, this dude's got money. He's got a team. I'm sure the time you haven't spoke to him, he probably went through whatever the process was of him starting his journey. And then now he's sharing it. I don't know if that's what he's doing, but I'm sure that is a possibility. I don't think they're going to just allow him not to go through whatever his process or his journey is. He's just, quote unquote, as they say, crashing out on the internet. So, yeah, I think it's definitely planned. It's definitely a process. The young man obviously has a business coach. He obviously has, you know, a business team. And then they're going about doing it a strategic way. So if you look at the way he's handling himself and conducting himself, an amount of money that he's worth, he's a brand and he has a business. So I think it's definitely a process. He's not just jumping on the internet and just sharing information.
I'm not mad at it personally. I think it's dope. I think he needs to have more discussions like this, mostly because he reaches a larger audience, and a lot of the people that follow him, they're young and impressionable. We got too much content.
Right.
And this is why I said, you know, a lot of this stuff is systemic. I'm not putting it all on that, but you think about some of the creators that's on social media, what do they focus on? Drama, things that distract you, like they just shove half-naked women in front of your face all day. They shove these diatribes in front of your face 24 hours a day. It's really shame men, shame women, shame. You consume stuff like that all day. What you think is going to happen to how you think? And I'm gonna yield the mic. A lot of people are going to people like us for their daily dosage of information. They're not getting on them hotlines. So that was just my point.
No, yeah, I agree with you, man. But again, you're making a conscious decision to do that. You got to hold people accountable, man. It starts with you. You get up in the morning and the first thing you're doing is turning on your device to look at what Jimmy got to say today. Then that's okay. That's what you're choosing to do. Now, if you find success in that, or you just find somebody that you can share, you know, sorrows and complaints and grievances with, that's what you're choosing to do. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, you're right. It's no different than the internet is no different than TV. It's the new TV. I mean, nobody watches TV anymore. Everybody's watching TV on their phones, whatever the case may be. But you're still making a conscious decision to do that. You can skip things on the phone now. You don't have to watch it. You know, the things are 30 seconds long because your attention span is not long enough. But if that's what you choose, like you just said, you're consuming it all day long, you're making that conscious decision to do so. So you can't blame somebody else because you're choosing to watch that. It's so much information out here on the internet. And if you're choosing that and then and I'm not saying you personally, but and then you're blaming somebody else because of the content that you're consuming. Again, it goes back to accountability. So you got to start with holding yourself accountable. Is this working for me? You know what I mean? I've been watching this for 30 days. What's the results of it? I haven't seen any progress in what I have going on. Okay, now you're self-evaluating. Are people self-evaluating? Probably not. But again, there are tools out there that you can use that you can check your balance, if that makes sense, to see where you are. You know, am I leaning to the right, leaning to the left, straight down the middle, whatever the case may be? There's mechanisms out there for people to use. It's just what you're choosing to use and what you're choosing not to use.
That's a fact. I don't know how many times I done said, but damn, man, I keep getting into trouble watching this shit. I need to stop. I'm hard headed, bro. I'm hard headed as hell. I ain't gonna lie. So, there, that's on me, man, for real. And I agree. At the end of the day, it's on us. We need more fellowship. You said it not too long ago. Accountability partners. It's a must. You gotta have it. I embrace it like shit. If I'm out of pocket, tell me. If I need to hear something, I'm cool with that. A lot of people they are, like Tiffany has said, people are scared to open up because they don't want to get ridiculed or they don't want to be met with shame and this, that, and the third. But how do you grow if you don't know?
And that's the thing, right? Everybody wants the praise, but nobody wants, I guess, as you call it, ridicule or the feedback. And that's where people in the older generation start talking about people in the younger generations. You know what I mean? You have to be in an uncomfortable position in order to feel that growth and that change. You know, again, we keep talking about it. Everybody want to be like-minded. Everybody wants to be around people that think like them. Everybody wants to be online where everybody's giving them circles and hearts and, you know, green leaves and 4 clovers. That shit ain't gonna help you. Everybody agreeing and telling you that, you know, everything you do is sunshine. That's not gonna help you be a better version of yourself. It'll keep you stagnant. It'll keep you complacent. It'll keep you just the way you are because you won't grow from it because everybody will tell you just the way you are is just fine, right? And you start thinking about it in relationships. And I'll use another car analogy. You won't buy a car as is. You either want a new car that you know that don't have any issues, or you want one with a warranty in case something goes wrong, you can bring it back and get it serviced. But then you got people that won't talk to anybody, won't try to get any help. The check engine light is on all day, 4 flats. They just rolling, pushing through life. And that's how men are. Oh, you got to be strong. Fuck it. You got to keep going. Keep going. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. No, you won't be all right. This is when you have issues like the other video we did when the man snapped and wanted to hurt his kids and his spouse. You know what I mean? You got to get checked out. You got when that oil light come on, you got to go see somebody. And again, it has to be a competent person that can explain to you and is willing to understand and listen to the things that you have going on. So that way you can have understanding. You can understand why you feel that way. You can understand why you act that way, why you maneuver that way, when you zigging, when you should have zagged. You know what I mean? So that way, when you engage in conversation or in a relationship with the next person, and like you said, or going to work, you can't go to work and be the top-notch performer at work and then go home and be the shittiest, version of yourself. But what happens is, here come that word again, code switching. You try to be one way at work and you try to be another way at home. You can't serve two masters. You can only be the best version of yourself, and you got to identify who you are as a person. And if you're that person, you're that best version of that person, you don't have to change up when people coming around, because you are you. They recognize you, they respect you, they like you for who you are, right? I mean, again, at the end of the day, I know it sounds easy to say that, but like you said, through life experiences, life be lifing, and then it's all about the comeback. You know what I mean? You got to be able to bounce back, take those hits, you know what I mean, and learn from it. Like we talked about the jabs the other day. You know what I mean? Stay on the balls of your toes. Keep moving around. You know, stay vibrant. That's why we talk about energy, positive energy, you know, synergy, things like that. You know, those are the things that, you know, make us become the best version of ourselves. But we're so busy trying to be like other people or want likes from other people.
A lot of detachment is required for this. A lot of it. People, food, the consumption, the amount of intake, all of it. And then you have to do a complete reset. How much do you want it? Okay. Heartache, I've been there. Frustration, I've been there. The world wants you to be a certain way. I understand that. The pressure is constantly on your shoulder. Okay, I get that. At the end, it's still your walk, your journey. Who's going to better navigate you, first of all, than the creator himself? Secondly, how important are these pieces that you have around you? Are these things that you added on? Are these things that are inherently a part of you? Is this artificial or is this organic? Like getting all these attachments to your body or putting things in the house that wasn't designed for the house. A lot of, I'm gonna say this. You want better for yourself, you got to figure out what that looks like. And what's needed in order for you to get to those points, and how much are you willing to invest in making it happen? What are you willing to sacrifice for it?
No, yeah, man. Like you said, moderation, man. You know, life is about balance. You got to figure out your balance. You know, if you feel like you're being pulled in, you know, 5, 6 different directions, take some time, you know, meditate, do whatever it is that you do to center yourself. And then, you know, figure out the balance, figure out the imbalance. You know, where are you leaning too far? Where are you spreading yourself thin? And regroup. And then again, man, it's important, you know, you can't express it enough, man. And, you know, and that's why in the military, you got wingmen, battle buddies, different things like that, because you have to have somebody that you can call and you can know shit. Hey, look, this is what I got going on. And they're going to know shit, give you the answer. Hey, look, you fucking up, man. You need to do this. You need to do that. You should have been moving like this. You got to have somebody to hold you accountable, man. And if you don't, that's probably where you're going wrong, because nobody's perfect. And then if you're going to find somebody to hold you accountable, make sure that you take the emotion out of it. You take the emotion out of it, and then just listen to the words, logical thinking, and then get into problem solving mode. How do we fix this? Which way do we go? You know what I mean? Be open. And I think that's the problem. So many people aren't open, man. It's just, it makes it difficult out there. People say they want change, but you got to actually put the work in. You know, only change they want is for $1.
We exercise everything but this.
Right. That muscle in the head.
and that's the most powerful one.
Right, exactly.
You say one thing that I just want to get this out before I forget. Take the emotion out of it. That's the part. we get too sensitive and offended. Now I don't know how many times I've done been down that road. Like I wouldn't talk to you about none of this shit if I'm not an antagonizer. I ain't trying to push your buttons. I ain't trying to trigger you, none of that. I'm here because you need somebody to assist in some ways. I'm not like I can't carry the load for you, my nigga, but I want to see you do better. The only way I know how to do that is to make sure you know the truth, or to the best of my ability, provide you a direction to go in that is safer than the one that you've already been going in, because the one that you've been going in is not it. And sometimes that's going to sound uncomfortable. You might not like what I have to say, but you got to hear it.
Yeah, no, man. Go ahead. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, there are people who are purposely trying to manipulate you, but then you have to understand that there are people that have the best intentions.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the conversation piece comes in, full transparency. And I would say, ways to kind of develop their emotional intelligence, because, we talked about it a lot, but I'll just say it needs to be more workshops, that way you can teach people about emotional awareness, and it can help, men navigate their feelings in healthy ways. So like you said, it might not be that there aren't resources available. It just might be, again, that education piece, letting people know that, hey, you can go to these different types of workshops. You can do things at home to help you out, like journaling, you know what I mean? Getting your thoughts out of your mind, getting them onto a piece of paper. A lot of people walk around with these devices now. You can leave yourself notes, voice notes. You don't have somebody to talk to. Just get those thoughts out of your head. You just want to get them out of your head. Use your phone. Leave yourself a voice note. And then you can go back and maybe think about some of the things you said and reflect, and maybe think about, hey, man, I wonder why I was in that mood. Or I wonder, why I felt like that when I was going through it. And the good thing is you have the journaling and you have those notes that maybe you can share that with somebody who's close to you, because you may needed to get it off your mind at the particular point in time just so you can feel better. But then you still want to go back and make sure you share that with somebody, and you can, go over some of those thoughts and some of those emotions that you were having, or you can identify what happened at that particular moment that triggered you, because that's also important. There's a lot of things that we don't know is what triggers us and why it triggers us, which is very important, because you kind of mentioned that earlier when you said if somebody cuts you off in your example, and you said that would deem it that they feel a certain way, or you don't feel like it's a support system, and that's a trigger right there, right? And if somebody was to do that, I would just say maybe not in the heat of the moment, maybe after things may have de-escalated, is to circle back and make sure you bring that up to that individual, especially if you identify that doesn't happen with other people. That's something that necessarily that you see happens with you. But then you have to be ready for that defense mechanism of that individual. So again, that's when that mediator comes into play, or that coach or that therapist. If you can't have that conversation and they're not willing to, receive the information you give, hey, you triggered me by cutting me off. I feel that's disrespectful, you know what I mean, et cetera, et cetera. And if that conversation can't go any further than that, then like you said, definitely a respect issue, but that might be something on the other individual, on how they learned, how they were raised, and how they communicate. Not saying it's effective or that it's the correct way to communicate, but then at least you're identifying, one, why you was triggered, two, who triggered you, and then three, if they're not even willing to, negotiate the issues with the triggering, then you just reassess the value within that relationship, or you come back to that relationship after you've gotten over and you won't be triggered by whatever it was that triggered you. So just some things to think about and help people as they're going along the way. And then what happens is as you're doing that, you're taking down those barriers. And this it'll reduce the symptoms of anxiety and depression because that causes anxiety. You mentioned also having to walk around with people on eggshells. And then the anxiety comes in like, man, I don't even want to say nothing because if I say something, it's going to go left or go right. And I already know nothing good is coming from this conversation, right? So that's insert the eggshell piece. So also having that conversation with somebody, you know what? Every time we engage in a conversation, I don't even feel comfortable to say certain things because I feel like you're going to respond in a certain way versus taking that and carrying it over to the next relationship or conversation with a person that had nothing to do with that situation, if that makes any sense.
It does. It does. You will feel a whole lot better if you just figure out who you are, embrace who you are, and that way, when you walk out that door, then you go about your life. It don't matter what's going on around you because you're so self-aware,
right,
that you navigate better.
Right. Because remember, you're meeting people with energy. Whether you're in a good mood, you know how it is. Somebody come around, he was like, "Man, damn, I was in a good mood till they walked in." You know what I mean? But if you keep projecting that positivity or whatever it is that you want to do, you control the environment. Because if they're going to continue to be meet you with negativity, and you're meeting them with what you want to be centered with is your positivity, somebody's going to feel uncomfortable and disengage in the conversation, or they're going to have to conform to the other person. So it's completely up to you. You know what I mean? That's how you don't let people control, your authenticity. What you eat don't make me shit. You know what I mean? So that's the type of stuff you have to keep, again, protecting your mental health or your mental well-being. Because you got to think about it. The work you put in to get to, quote unquote, your happy place, why would you allow somebody the power to come in and sabotage the work that you put in? You're letting them win. And then I would look at you and ask you to self-evaluate yourself even more to why you want to consider yourself to even be in that environment with the person like that, if they're not looking or identifying that they may have an issue if it makes you feel uncomfortable. So that goes back to self-respect. It goes back to value. It goes back to recognizing who you are or who you want to be. And again, subjecting yourself to that type of behavior.
Powerful. I hope this helps somebody. I hope this reaches who it needs to reach, because like I said at the beginning, there's not nearly enough respect put on these topics at all, and you'll feel so much better just getting it out. It's all right. It's okay. Go ahead and let them tears out. Go ahead and scream if you got to. Go to that quiet place.
Yeah.
Go
to that rage room. Break some
right.
stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One thing you don't want to do anymore is keep all that stuff in. You're making yourself sick.
Absolutely.
That's the ultimate message here. You're making yourself sick. Damn, this was a good one, man. It was a good one. Shout out to Michelle. Shout out to Tiffany. Shout out to everybody who pulled up in the stream tonight. I said tonight, this evening, I'm thinking about the open mic.
Hey man, as long as you plan ahead, baby, that's good. Don't look backwards, look forward.
Facts. Hey man, any final words before we close out?
Man, I was thinking about saying some stuff, man, but I'll just say, man, check on your strong people. It's the holiday season. We talk about men and mental health, talk about men and relationships. All the men out there that may be separated away from their kids and going through some stuff, man. Check on your strong friends. Send somebody a text that you ain't talked to in a while. Just say hello, see how they doing. You never know how it might make their day.
That's it. That's a fact. That's a perfect way to close this out. Check on your strong friends. Well, look, man, we about to get up out of here, man. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. If I don't see y'all later, enjoy your weekend. Drive safe. You know, don't crash out. If you need to vent, if you need to get it out, there are resources. There are plenty of places where you can do so. All that coach if you need to. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we about to get up out of here, man. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all morning. I'm going back in the laboratory. Do me a solid before y'all go, if you don't mind.
The goddamn boy back.
Appreciate you.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me the tide isn't run on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep, longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed, begging the generations remember our story.